called it. The village was now little more than piles of rubble and chunks of chalk, with trees in neat rows broken and burned by shell fire. They were resting in the sunken road that approached the village, the mounds of earth on either side of them higher than their helmets, the little valleys between them filled with pieces of wood and iron and men. There were men from other units with them, the Grimsby Chums, the 11th Suffolks. They said everyone else was gone. Paddy ran. They all ran. When the road opened up, they found 3 machine guns waiting for them. Ernie fell in front of the barbed wire. Friendly shells were supposed to have cut that barbed wire. Jimmy went down. Paddy was still running. 2 men from the Suffolks were next to him. Duncan was hit in the shoulder. Where was Harry? Paddy saw the earth heave and crumble in front of him. The dust hit his eyes and coated his face. The last thing he remembered was seeing Contalmaison behind a cloud of dust. How long had he been under the earth? It was night when he started to come to. He could see very little. The Suffolks were next to him, but they weren't moving. His head felt so strange. The loud noises made him feel sleepy, almost bored. He started to crawl. There were bodies everywhere. Some of them still had their canteens. He had never been so thirsty. He scavenged. Not long ago, the handsomest man in the world had made extra money each summer competing in sprinting contests, often under a false name so reporters who covered hearts wouldn't find out. Now he moved slowly, close to the ground, hoping no one would see him. He wondered if he'd ever again know what it feels like to run. 1. A company of sportsmen. In November 1914, the war came to Edinburgh in the form of a very long line around a squat Beaux Arts concert hall that had opened just months before, with a grand dome up top and cheap wooden seats in the upper circle for working people. The seats were designed to bring sweet music into tough lives and to amplify the sounds from the stage. The massive pipe organ in the gallery shook everyone's bum when the maestro played a low note, and you might even get a little bit of that buzz if a speaker had a low voice. On this Friday night, the buzz was outside, as 4,000 people waited for 2,000 seats in weather the meteorological office had somewhat unhelpfully predicted as variable, fair, or fine to showery. You came to the Usher Hall through wet streets crowded by tall sandstone edifices that are now pinkish grey and glow gold at sunset. But in 1914 they were a sombre grey, slathered with greasy dust from the coal that barely warmed the tenement flats and storefronts on the way. As you approached the Usher, heading down Lothian Road from Fountain Bridge maybe, or cutting through Bread Street Lane if you were canny, you entered the square where the city's famous castle, at once visible by a gap in the skyline, watched over the street artists working. Men wore long coats over their jackets and ties, their hats beacons of class. Flat caps for the working classes, derbies, bowlers, and even sometimes top hats for those up the ladder. Women wore wide-brimmed hats that were simple and dark, sometimes with bows for effect, and their long coats covered simple dresses, shirtwaists over long, narrow skirts whose hemlines, inspired by daring Parisians, were just starting to creep up above the ankle. Such fashionable lasses might have kept their hands warm with muffs, another item that had lately come into style. There was no admission price for the most desirable ticket in town, just your time, which you burned up happily waiting, with everyone else desperate to cheer Sir George McRae and the lads from Hearts. Hearts is a nickname for the Heart of Midlothian Football Club. It was founded in 1874 in Gorgie, an area west of the city centre whose 40,000 or so residents lived in tenements, in small flats off dark stairs in Georgian buildings, or, if they were from the artisan or skilled working classes, in terraced or colony houses where they didn't have to share space with dozens of other families. The team took its name from the 7th of Sir Walter Scott's Waverley novels, telling the story of an 18th century riot against an officious captain of the city guard. By 1914, it was a professional operation whose official rival was, and remains to this day, Hibernian Football Club. Hibs play in Leith, north of the city centre. Gorgie was a thriving commercial district in 1914. Like the nearby areas of Dalry and Shandon, it hosted a multitude of businesses and light industry, tanners, brewers, rubber works.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.